pop music superstar Prince has died. The musician known as Prince has passed away at age 57, as confirmed by his publicist. His body was found early this morning in his recording studio at his home in Minnesota.
We do begin with that breaking news, stunning millions of fans around the world. Pioneering music legend Prince has died at the age of 57.
Prince Rogers Nelson was more than a musician. He was a force. His songs shaped generations, his shows shook arenas, and his mystique made him feel untouchable. But behind the glamour was a truth that surfaced only when it was too late. What happened on his private jet days before his death and what investigators found on board reshaped the story of his final week. To understand the tragedy, we begin with his rise, the making of a legend. Prince Rogers Nelson was born in Minneapolis on June 7, 1958, into a home where music was the family language. His father, John L. Nelson, played jazz piano. His mother, Mattie Della, sang. Prince learned piano by ear at 7, picked up guitar soon after, and by his teens could play a room full of instruments. He didn't just master technique, he twisted it into something unmistakably his. By the late 1970s, Minneapolis knew he was different. His debut, For You, showcased a startling independence. He wrote, produced, and performed almost everything himself. The breakthrough came with 1999 and 1982 synth funk that sounded like the future. 2 years later, Purple Rain turned him into a global icon. The film and its soundtrack became cultural touchstones, bringing awards and a permanent place in pop history. On stage, Prince was singular. Lace and leather, a flash of color, and a guitar that screamed he tore through every boundary. He was masculine and androgynous, playful and spiritual, reclusive and magnetic. He blurred genre, image, and identity, setting a new standard for what an artist could be. Through the 1980s and 1990s, he built an empire. Albums like Sign of the Times, Love Sexy, and Diamonds and Pearls cemented his reputation as a relentless innovator. He waged a public battle for artistic control, even changing his name to an unpronounceable symbol during a dispute with Warner Bros., calling the industry's contract system a kind of slavery. For him, music and freedom were sacred. From Minneapolis basements to sold-out arenas. His story was one of vision and reinvention. Yet behind the brilliance was a human being carrying burdens no spotlight could erase. The icon's last chapter, Prince lived as if time bent to his will. But in the weeks before April 2016, something shifted. Friends noticed fatigue and flashes of pain. He still rehearsed endlessly, but it cost him more. He moved slower, disappeared between sound checks, and sometimes retreated early. Rumors about his health spread in Minneapolis. He brushed off questions with humor, saying he worked best under pressure. His aides shielded him, but could not hide the toll of decades on stage. News outlets began to speculate. He staged a party at Paisley Park and told fans he felt fantastic, a bold attempt to steady the narrative. Privately, he admitted he was in pain, though he minimized how bad it was. He was still the star, still in control, or trying to be. But the final days were already gathering in the background, a flight surrounded by mystery. On April 14, 2016, after a blazing 2-hour show in Atlanta, Prince boarded his jet home. On stage, he was everything fans expected: strong voice, precise keys, multiple encores. But in the air, his body failed him. Somewhere over Illinois, he collapsed. The pilot declared a medical emergency and diverted to Moline, Illinois. Paramedics met the plane with naloxone, a drug used to reverse opioid overdoses. Prince was barely breathing. After receiving the medication, he slowly revived and was taken to a hospital. His identity kept quiet at first. Publicly, the episode was blamed on dehydration and exhaustion, believable for someone with his work ethic. But the use of naloxone told a different story. Prince was famous for discipline and clean living. The contradiction unsettled those around him and fueled questions that official statements couldn't answer. The incident forced a new, darker possibility into view. The FBI gets involved. The emergency landing did not fade from the headlines or from federal attention. Why would an artist so guarded and controlled require a life-saving dose of naloxone? Who had access to prescription drugs? How did strong narcotics reach him? Agents sought to secure any medications found on the jet, documenting bottles, labels, and prescriptions. Subpoenas followed to pharmacies and physicians across the states Prince had visited. Early findings raised alarms. Prescriptions under aliases, controlled substances dispensed with gaps in oversight, intermediaries moving quietly between suppliers and the star. Interviews and toxicology reviews suggested a system designed for privacy, but vulnerable to abuse. The drugs that nearly killed him did not appear to come from one source. They flowed through a patchwork of legitimate prescriptions and counterfeit pills, an echo of a national crisis hiding inside a personal emergency. Publicly, his team stuck to exhaustion and workload. Privately, investigators were convinced there was more. Inside the shocking discovery, the jet became a crime scene. Agents examined drawers, luggage, and personal effects. They reportedly found multiple pill bottles, some labeled under the alias Peter Bravestrong, a name Prince used to protect his privacy. Lab tests showed a grim reality. Many pills were counterfeit and laced with fentanyl, a synthetic opioid, deadly in tiny amounts. Mixed among legitimate prescriptions, the fake pills were hard to distinguish by sight. The findings placed Prince in the path of a growing epidemic. People seeking relief and unknowingly taking lethal counterfeits disguised as everyday painkillers. The investigation's tone shifted from concern to alarm. Stories in conflict. While investigators built their case, Prince's representatives tried to control the story. Grueling schedules, dehydration, relentless touring. But private accounts conflicted. Friends said he had been in pain for years. Some believed he had grown dependent on painkillers. Others insisted he used them sparingly under medical guidance. Doctors added to the confusion. Some described a demanding patient who used aliases. Others said he was cautious and reluctant. The contradictions revealed a deeper truth. The public image of total control no longer matched the private struggle to manage pain. Even those closest to him could not agree on the extent of his dependency, but all recognized the tension between legend and reality. The hidden battle. Prince's body was his instrument and his battleground. Years of leaping, spinning, and playing through marathon sets left his joints worn and his hips damaged. Surgery offered relief, but he feared losing the movement that defined his performances. He chose a different path, quietly, alone. Within Paisley Park, painkillers shifted from temporary help to daily necessity. Bottles accumulated, some were prescribed, others obtained more discreetly. Aliases like Peter Bravestrong hid his identity and deepened his isolation. Friends noticed changes: missed meals, withdrawals, irritability, but few grasped the scale. The investigation later exposed how carefully he guarded this part of his life. The hardest battle wasn't against critics or contracts. It was the private fight to keep the show going while the pain grew louder. Moments before the end, after the emergency landing, Prince returned to Paisley Park, determined to seize back the narrative. He hosted a party, stepped on stage, and told fans not to worry. Wait a few days before you waste any prayers. The showman was still in command, or so it seemed. Those close to him saw the weariness and the long absences. He agreed to meet a specialist in opioid dependency, a fragile, hopeful turning point scheduled for the days ahead. But the appointment never came. Less than a week after the diversion to Moline, he was found unresponsive in the elevator at Paisley Park. The news stunned the globe. The artist who gave everything to performance had been undone by the pain he kept hidden. The final report. The medical examiner's report delivered the stark conclusion: Prince died of an accidental fentanyl overdose. The pills among his belongings looked like standard painkillers but contained a substance so potent that a few grains can stop breathing. For investigators, the horror wasn't just fentanyl, it was the deception. Someone had pressed the drugs to look legitimate, ensuring they could pass into medicine cabinets and tour bags undetected. Teams traced prescriptions, reviewed pharmacy records, and pursued leads in multiple states. False names appeared on bottles. Intermediaries blurred the trail. Security footage yielded little. After months of work, the origin of the lethal pills remained unknown. The case closed without charges. The boxes of evidence were sealed. But the larger truth could not be boxed away. An artist who embodied control and freedom was caught in a system where counterfeit pills, secrecy, and chronic pain intersected with fatal precision. What do you believe was the most shocking revelation about Prince's final days? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching this video with us, and catch you in the next one.